It was far more influential than I think people realize. It was far more influential. It's got dialogue and exploration and itemization. It's got everything you want from an RPG.
Can I just tell you, like, the original game was so formative for me.
Ur-Quan Masters, I mean, you definitely see it in Mass Effect. The fingerprints are all over the place.
It's most clearly inspired by Ur-Quan Masters. Of course, I was also inspired by it when designing Stellaris.
Ur-Quan Masters was a huge influence on a game I made called Fallout.
The amount of thought that went into the different creatures, species design, the humor, it was funny and it was smart and it was interesting and complicated and all running on this incredibly basic piece of hardware. So I played that game to death.
Just the little icons of how they control their ship. Like the spath you would hide and you just see like something come up and move a lever and then go back down.
One of the most distinctive features about Ur-Quan Masters is the personalities of these alien races. They felt meaningful. They were well written.
The thrill of the Ur-Quan Masters is meeting new aliens. You get to learn what their deal is. You get to learn what their conflicts are. You have that introduction that starts with, this is about a simple war. And actually, your world becomes so much bigger.
That was kind of my first exposure to that way of establishing a kind of science fiction mythos. It made a big impact on me and really stuck in my memory.
It's all about making a universe feel alive. And I loved that. I loved all the little details that went into that.
When we started working on Spaz, we had a whole bunch of races because the archetype was Ur-Quan Masters.
I remember I did look at like Ur-Quan Masters and I'm like, I did really appreciate like all the colors. And I'm like, yeah, we have to do it like this.
And of course, Subnautica did actually some pretty interesting non-linear single player story stuff. If you and your friend are both playing through the game, if you just start comparing notes, it might feel like you're playing two different games. I remember having similar feelings comparing where we all were in Ur-Quan Masters single player. I remember my friend Shaminda was like, I don't think that happened in mine.
There's not one Ur-Quan Masters. There's not one BioShock. There's as many people play it, that's as many different versions of it as that game as there are. That allows people to imprint more of themselves on the games. I think that's why they're so powerful, because you're not feeling led around by, somebody telling you where to look and what to do.
That was super cool to me. That's one of the things I remember. Right? Wow, they're fighting each other now.
It was just two games that were completely exemplars in each of their genres. If just the multiplayer existed, it would be one of the best multiplayer spaceship combat games ever. And if just the single player existed, it'd be one of the best sci-fi narrative games of all time.
You managed to make two pieces that really interlocked in a compelling way.
It was the perfect game at the perfect time. It's exactly what I wanted, exactly what I needed to be playing. When I then had an opportunity to make a game that just fell in my lap, I was like, this game. It's got to be like this game.
Yeah, heavily influenced by Ur-Quan Masters. It was just like, hey, what's your favorite game of all time? And Gary was just like, oh yeah, it's the Ur-Quan Masters. And I was like, that's my favorite game of all time. Like, what?
It is also my favorite game of all time, the Ur-Quan Masters.
It's really one of those games that I keep thinking of, essentially, in my creative work. And I think I see echoes of that game in other games that's come out since.
It's just shocking to think about what went into that game. And it was obvious even back then. Like it was a masterpiece then. And like looking back on it, I just want to play it now.